lived just a few blocks from us during the time I was born until they passed away. And I think I was probably about, 10 years old when my grandmother died. And he lived several years after she died. And,
That was your mother's mother and father, right?
yeah, that was my mother's mother and father. And they had a boarding house, and of course I can't remember that long ago when they boarded people that worked in the sawmill in the town of Muckatee. It was a seaport town.
Yeah,
And
sawmill.
the boarding house, and I don't remember much that's more before my time. And eventually they left that. Well, I still had it, but I don't remember just what. But they had another house, farm right above where we lived in Muckatee. They had about 2 acres there. We lived up there.
Was that little white house?
No, you wouldn't know which one it was. It's
It was a
you
different
know where
house?
Andy lived.
Yeah.
Well, it was adjacent to that property,
Oh, okay.
up the road from
Oh,
that
further up.
big, beautiful view property. That property they'd be worth about $200,000, just the land they owned there. They had a small house there, and they had that along with the house they had downtown, which used to be a boarding house, but in their later years they didn't take in any boarders.
Wow.
And she had 2 boys, Uncle Henry, and he had a large family in Muckatee too. And then there was a younger uncle that died. I remember him vaguely. What was his name? I can't think of it now. And then she had a daughter who lived in Wisconsin, Tilda. And then she had another daughter, Gina, that died before I remembered her, and she's buried in Muckatee in the old Muckatee cemetery. And,
So that was, what was your grandmother's name? No, Nora?
my grandmother,
Yeah.
Mary,
Oh, okay.
and
Mary Christensen?
John,
Mary Christensen?
yeah.
Okay. And those were her children you were talking about? So they would have been your uncles or your
And then,
aunts?
well, that's all my cousins lived there, see, on my mother's side.
And they're the ones that immigrated over from Norway?
My grandmother and grandfather, they came from Norway and settled in Wisconsin. And they had a farm there.
Mm.
I think it was around Eau Claire, somewhere in that vicinity, I'm not sure, or Glenwood. I'll have to spoke of those towns there.
Why did they move, what brought them to move to,
Well, I'm not certain. I guess just a spirit of new
pioneers?
frontier, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly why. Whether, well, my mother lived up to before my father.
Yeah.
So, but they had a farm in Wisconsin. And my grandmother, she was a midwife for that whole area. So she's Wisconsin didn't have any doctors, so they depended on her to deliver the babies. I guess it was said that she delivered over 600 babies in her lifetime.
How did she learn how to do it? Did she go to school, or did she just start doing it?
Just a practical necessity.
Did she continue to do it after she moved out to?
Well, she was.
Uncle
Well,
Phil?
she took care of our family. And,
delivered?
Kid's family, yeah.
She delivered you?
And my sisters.
And your sisters?
And my cousins were all delivered by her, the library.
At home? In your
Yeah.
home?
So, now he was, my uncle, my grandfather used to, we used to build houses
Locally?
around town
Mhm.
in my hotel. And he built a house for my aunt on my father's side, my father's sister. Where it's still,
Oh.
it's still standing there, and my cousin lives in it now.
Is that right?
But it was the first prefabricated house that ever built in Mukilteo. They had all the pre-cut pieces were sent from the east or somewhere. They're all pre-cut, you know. All the lumber was pre-cut to certain dimensions. You had a
Very
blueprint, put it all together. Well, he had a double of the time getting it all together because he couldn't read blueprint.
Oh.
And he had, I imagine, carpenter was laborious at that time, slow, because they didn't have any electrical saws or tools or anything. It was all hand saws
Now,
and hand drills and stuff like that.
was
so.
that at the time of the Depression?
No, it was before.
So the economy was,
Yeah.
was okay.
Nobody was building houses with the Depression. That was before the Depression.
Right.
See, the lumber mill closed down in 1829.
Right, at
Mukilteo.
when the Depression hit.
Yeah, and well, I think it closed down 29. And it was it was a company town, just one industry there, and that was a sawmill. So when that shut down, there was no jobs for anybody. It was a town of about 800 to 1,000 people, so everybody was laid off. And there was no such thing as unemployment insurance, no Social Security.
Did
So-
your family, did your dad work there?
No, he did work for the railroad in Mukilteo for a while.
So there were a couple other jobs, but.
Yeah, and he bought this land there and he built some little houses on it. And my grandfather helped him, I guess, build those. And he rented them out, and then he had a big orchard there. We had cows, and sold milk.
What did most people do? Get by?
Well, he was doing this before the
Oh.
mill closed down. Of course, he's also a bootlegger. He makes his own booze and sold it. Of course, that was before.
The Prohibition.
That was what was that? During Prohibition. Up until.
Well, you can tell some stories about that, I'm sure. That's some good
That's a whole
memories for
nother-
that. Yeah.
Whole nother story.
Right.
But my grandfather, they were very religious people. And
The
my
same.
grandmother was very, very strict. You know, she wouldn't even allow a radio in the house. Or
Mary?
she was-
What church did they go to? Do you remember?
Oh, I can't remember. There was a Nazarene church right next door to the boarding house. There was a church behind that apartment house there.
She wouldn't allow
Boarding
radio.
house. But I don't know what denomination that was.
She wouldn't allow a radio in the house? That was supposed to have been bad.
Dancing was forbidden.
Movies,
Yeah,
when
but
they came
She
out.
never approved of my dad too much for his moves, so Grandpa was, well, they were very religious.
Both of them?
He'd take a drink of booze once in a while. My father helped him, you know. She wasn't around.
Ah.
So she was very, very deeply religious. And,
What was she like? Do you remember her?
well, she was
Her personality?
very helpful person. She was a small woman and very, very, well, she was real strict, but she was very helpful. She did more for people, you know, and for her children. And she's always doing something for somebody. She was a hard worker, worked all
Did you, how old was she how old were you when she
Well,
passed
see,
away?
I'm trying to remember what year. I can't recall, but it was I must have been, I know I was in grade school.
Mm-hmm. Were you close to her? Did you
Yeah, yeah, that was the first death that ever occurred in my whole family. So.
Yeah. And she lived right there, so did you spend a lot of time over at her house?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That, of course, yeah. And,
So she died first?
yes. And, well, I think that was what caused my grandfather's death, too. Of course, he had heart trouble. She died of pneumonia.
Mm.
But she was always if anybody got sick, why should they come to her? She was a really first aid type of,
Yeah, she was
kind of local first aid
yeah,
person.
and midwife.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Huh.
Yeah, such a, gee,
That was your great grandmother?
Right.
yeah. She was a small person. She was very industrious, worked hard all her life. They're both buried up in every cemetery there, but he lived, I don't know how long. 3, 4 years, maybe 5, I don't know. He used to have fun for Thanksgiving, but then he didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
After she died, he just lost interest in living
Mm.
actually, you know, he did the carpentry and everything.
Mm.
He lived down that big boarding house by himself. You know. Everybody go down. He had a lot of relatives along.
So did he live a few years longer?
Yeah, and then I don't know what year that was.
Mm.
I'd have to check back with Elaine. She kept more records than
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
did, so.
They met in Norway though, and were married, and then
I'm not sure whether they're married to come over or not.
so you don't know anything back that far as far as how they met or if they both came over.
None of them ever went back. Took a trip back.
Oh, they never
But,
kept in touch with their parents, or?
Well, they probably communicated. I don't
Mhm.
know whether they did towards that late or not.
Mhm.
They had relatives there. I know one of her sisters, something lived to be 104 in Norway.
Have to find out.
My mother went back to the area where they came from, where she was born. That was during the war, about 34 or something.
You mean to Wisconsin or to
My
Norway?
mother went to Wisconsin, where she was from.
Oh.
And, that was after both my grandmother and grandmother died. So.
Oh.
But her sister still lived back there,
Oh, I
and
see.
her relatives. You know.
Mhm.
So,
And
one of the family descendants of my grandmother, he lives there in Wisconsin, and he comes out to see Elaine. You know, he's representative for Rockwell. He's got a pretty good job. He travels all over, and he started a family tree, and he's asked Elaine about it. He's going as far back as he can to the family tree in Wisconsin, the whole family. So he'd have a wealth of information on the family tree. Far back on the mother's side, he's going back to the 16th century, I guess, 1870.
and Elaine knows who he is.
Elaine gave him all the facts, so that she knows.
Mhm. But he didn't ever give
Well,
her his
he came
information.
when he was, I remember when he was a little kid. He's about, I suppose I'm 5, 6 years older than he is.
Mhm.
And he was related to my grandmother. I don't know just what the relation is. No. But he comes to see Elaine every once in a while. He was there last year and stayed with Mike. They took a trip over to Whidbey Island.
Oh. So he's
So,
still around and
he's
keeping
younger
in
than I am.
touch. Okay.
Well, I didn't know much about, of course, I didn't know my grandparents. My father's side. All I know that he was a blacksmith, and they lived in Wisconsin. Well, actually, they went to St. Joe, and then from St. Joe, I don't think, I never knew anything about their life in St. Joe, Missouri. My dad was pretty young then. He had a brother, but after he came west, he never knew anything about. They lost each other. Never.
Why did your dad?
And a sister. He had a brother and sister, and his sister moved to Mukilteo and lived there. She came because she lived in the South after she left. I don't know where she was adopted out. Somebody adopted her, and she lived in the South somewhere. And she married a Southerner, and he was a captain on a riverboat, something, Mississippi Rivers, and he got drowned overboard. And then my cousin James, he was just a little kid then. And she knew my father lived here in Washington, so she wrote him a letter and decided to move out here.
Oh. Well, how come your dad moved to Mukilteo? What brought him there?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. He never talked too much about why he left, but he left Wisconsin when he was pretty young, I imagine. So early 20s or 20s. He didn't do much there. He was quite a woodsman. Of course, in those times, they were building the railroad through, Great Northern Railroad through. And it was kind of a wilderness area. It was late 1800s, you know.
Oh, okay.
And pretty much I developed so much of it. And he used to do he used to trap, hunt, fish. And his father, of course, he lived at home. I don't know how long he lived at home, but I remember his father was a blacksmith. Quite a drinker, I can say. He used to, I don't know how he treated the kids, but apparently my aunt was adopted or something. I don't think my grandmother was very well. I understand later. I didn't know that she committed suicide. I don't know what the circumstances or anything where my father left. He didn't go into much. And my brother disappeared. His brother, and they never had contact.
Never did the rest of their lives?
So I never met him. But he bummed around quite a while. My father did, and came here west and rode the rails a lot. He used to poach deer for the railroad crews. You see, they didn't have any beef then.
Oh.
And he'd go out and he was quite a woodsman. He'd shoot deer for the railroad. He'd shoot up sometimes 20, 30 deer a day.
And then they would pay him money for the deer?
Yeah, paid so much. He just shoot them for him, and they'd have to do the rest of the work.
Boy. But it was against the law, you mean?
Oh, sure.
So they had him do it.
It's against the law, but see, there was no source of meat during going through the forest, you know. No transportation or anything, so they lived pretty much off the game. A lot of those railroad, like the Indians lived off the land, so to speak.
Oh, but he had to watch out for the Indians, huh?
Well, there wasn't that period of time. I guess they were pretty much on reservations, you know.
Oh, by then, the late 1800s.
So that's probably getting into my parents more now, rather than my grandfather. But in grandmother, but that's all I really,
So you never met them,
oh no,
only heard stories?
that's all. And, not very much, just little trivialities, you know.
Uh-huh, mm-hmm. Did you ever see any pictures of them? And so
He
it,
don't, my father didn't even know his birthday.
he didn't, was that uncommon back then?
No.
Oh, yeah. Did he, so, did he have good memories or bad memories? Probably,
My father?
yeah, probably not real good memories with
He
background
never
like that.
discussed any problems, you know, like
Never talked about it.
disagreements or fighting or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
he just mentioned things that always, he used to help his dad around blacksmith shop, I guess. He talked about send him up to the saloon, get a bucket of beer, you know, and he'd stick a hot poker into the beer till it foamed up and he'd drink that. And then he'd send him to the slaughterhouse, you know, bucket to get when they kill the animals, just collect the blood and he'd drink that blood. Right, raw blood.
Why did he do that? Why did he do that?
He was an old Welshman, I guess. You know, they came from Wales. I guess I forgot to say that.
Oh,
His grandmother and grandfather. His mother and father.
yeah,
That's my grandmother.
grandparents, right.
They originally came from Wales. America, and I don't know
And-
what year, or they went into St. Joe, Missouri when they got into this country, from what I understand.
But you don't know whether
Anything
that was
about
a
them.
custom of their land to drink the blood, or if that was,
Well, a lot of people have done that in the past.
really?
Not a lot of people, but
wasn't-
they used to do that. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
But,
But your father never got into that, huh?
well, no, he'd, when he was trapper, he used to,
Sore thumb, huh?
you know,
Did, and the kids resented that probably,
I think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did,
Both, well, see, Henry, her oldest son, he was pretty much an alcoholic. And so her younger son was an alcoholic, Emil.
but,
He died really at a young person, he was like 20, I guess.
from the alcoholism?
I don't know just exactly what it was.
But their
remember
father-
him. I remember it.
But their father didn't drink. You said occasionally was sick.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think he did until after Grandma died. And he used to go up for Thanksgiving dinner and he'd have one little hot toddy or something, like an eggnog or something. But I don't think he ever did when Grandma was.
Did Did you stay at home? Did you live at home while you were going to the university?
No,
You lived on campus.
no, I stayed with some family.
So is that the last
in
time you?
Seattle.
Is that the last time you lived at home? Was after high school?
No, I
You left?
see. I lived at home after I got out of college. Well, not just for a while,
Mhm.
and then until I got in the army, and that was from about a period of 6 months.
Just a
I
little
went in
bit.
service, and then when I came back, of course my dad died when I was in service, and when I come back, well, I stayed with my mother. Let's see. What was that? 4 or 5 months, I guess, and I got that job in Israel. That's when your mother got married, and I got married there too, and moved to Hampton.
And so was your father? Was he? He was a hard worker, but was he strict? Was he mean? Was he?
Well,
Fun.
he wasn't mean. He was really strict, you know.
Mhm.
Especially with me, he was pretty hard, you know. Taskmaster. We never had fun together, played around the field so much, you know.
Mhm.
like the fathers do nowadays. It used to be
Right.
that way, you know, because the older people
They didn't do that.
do things like they did with their children nowadays.
Right.
You know, it's completely different.
You just had too much work to do, huh?
Yeah,
And because of the depression, maybe, and
well, you
the
see, I
time they
think,
lived in.
well, being in a small town, like, yeah, it's a little different from larger cities, you know. I think because all the kids knew each other, and,
Uh-huh.
well, have things we did together.
Yeah.
And parents didn't join much, of course. They had the Boy Scouts and stuff like that, but I didn't get into that.
Uh-huh.
And, so we didn't do so much things together, you know, like hunting or fishing. He never did any hunting or fishing at all.
Oh, he didn't?
Not after he used to, you know, when he was a kid, you know, but after he got older, he didn't. He'd go clam digging once in a while, group of us.
But he didn't go out in the ocean fishing with you?
No.
How'd you ever learn how to fish? I mean...
My cousin,
Oh.
James, on my father's side. See, I was pretty close to him, closer than Jim than anybody. Other cousins, you know.
Uh-huh.
Because we used to go out together hunting and fishing and all the time. He taught me all the time.
Oh, that
hunting
was...
and fishing. Well, not so much hunting. I went to hunting, fishing, salmon fishing.
That was your
trout
father's sister's son?
fishing. Yeah. That's the only cousin I have
Yeah.
from my father. I'm the only relative I had on my father's side.
Right.
And that was, Jenny.
And what happened to him? Is he alive?
No, he died here. See, Jenny died when I was working at Hanford. She had a heart attack. She was about 80. And then James, he got married prior to that. Girl from Texas. And they lived in the house there. See, Aunt Jenny moved out. She built a cabin on the property for herself, so you know, let them have the big
Oh,
house.
right.
And they had two boys. And they said one of them lives. He still lives in the house there.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you've been there when you were a kid. I think I took you down there.
Yeah.
My aunt, that was a long time. You probably don't remember anything about it. But he worked for Scott's paper there. He graduated in Pullman, you know. Things like that. He did business, but he never got into that. He just got a job there. His jobs are hard to get then in his line of work. And got a job there doing chemistry work. His lab technician. Just stayed there. That's what his son was doing. I think he took his dad's job and left.
Gosh. Isn't that
And he has suffering with gout. But hear about it. I think it's about, oh my gosh.
the son?
9 years ago, I think he just, he was about 3 years older than I am.
James? Uh-huh.
And he just died in his bed.
Oh.
At home.
How long ago was that?
About 8 years ago, I'd say. Could take a year.
So anyway, he's the one that took you out fishing?
Yeah. And they used to take me out camping all the time. And at the Model A T4 that we got from, they got a newer car. We used to go up on the camping out all the time. Every summer we used to go out. So
just you and James?
up in and his mother.
Oh, his mother.
Show it to you know. Every summer we go. That's a couple times a summer. Had fun. Just in grade school, you know. Fished the streams up north of there, right there. Where it was the Stilly-Gwamish and some lakes and streams. I love them. Yeah.
So they So your father died in the house that he...
No, he died in the hospital at the Coffins. He had he had coronary thrombosis.
So was he sick? Did you get to see him before he died, or did he die before you?
Well, I was up, hasn't been feeling good, and they called me up and I got to the hospital right before he died.
So you
He
got
died
to see...
while I was there.
Oh, did he? So he got to see you before?
He died right while I was there.
Oh.
Guess he was trying to hang on until I got up. He died I was only there a few minutes. Had him by the hand, he just died. Just like that. In front of me.
Oh, yeah. He just knew that he could go ahead and could see me. And, yeah, I remember when your mother passed away. I can remember that.
Well, she was in coma for a long time.
I guess I didn't see her at the very end
I
alive.
died in the last week. She was in a coma there.
Well, she
We'd
lived
been
with...
to the hospital there, up to visit her,
Uh-huh.
and then Lynn said she was in a coma.
She lived with Elaine.
Huh?
She moved out of
Well, she lived
her
with
house?
Lane now. She couldn't, after my dad died, she wouldn't stay there. I mean, she didn't want to be alone. So.
Oh, uh-huh.
And then well, Irene was living next up above,
Oh, they had
Andy,
built that
and
house,
so
yeah.
it was all right then, but when Irene passed away, and she tried to help Andy raise Skipper, and then finally Elaine took Skipper. Both my mother and Skipper lived up there, Elaine. And Irene was up with Elaine. She took care of her.
Right, now I remember.
Before she died. So.
Yeah, I remember.
Then they finally got so bad she had to go to the hospital.
Uh-huh.
And she died there at the property. We were all came over. All kids.
So, got to see her before she died then, too. And then, so your mom lived with, then she moved in with her?
Well, she moved and lived with Elaine for a long time, and
Yeah.
then she went to a restaurant, and she lived with her sister there for a while, Lily. And then, see how did it go?
They had a
They
room
didn't get
together?
along very well.
Oh.
She found another place, I guess. Lily moved out, I think. And she went to a nursing home for a while.
Oh, the one thing I remember about her is she
And
liked
then
to...
she moved back with Elaine again, and then she got sick, and they had to move her out.
The thing I remember is when we used to go up to visit Rudy and Elaine at the other house. She lived with them then. She lived with them at that time. And us kids used to go out in the living room and watch TV, and she was always put out with the kids, Or she would choose, I don't remember, to be with the kids, and the adults would all be in the kitchen, and she would always be in with the kids, It's
Yeah.
like and she would love to, and every once in a while we would hear her getting yelled at because she would get caught with the beer. She loved to sneak the beer. And Elaine would catch her and give her a bad time about having another beer.
Yeah, Elaine gave her a pretty bad time all the time. I was yelling at her. She didn't have much patience.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the way it is with older people. She was getting a little forgetful, a little kind of senile.
Right. Now
She got to the point where she didn't drink any beer or anything.
She was in her 80s, right?
She was 87.
87. And your father was...
75.
Right.
But he had that heart problem.
Right. Is there anything else that we forgot that we want to add on your parents? We can always add it later.
I covered most of them.
Okay. Good.
Well, yeah, one thing he told me, living with his folks. His mother, they used to fish a lot, go out fishing. Kind of sport, help with it. gets food for the table, like fishing and hunting and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. A
Uh-huh.
little bit of crapping. But he went out, his mother gave him a bacon rack to go out and he went fishing. He used those little cuts of bacon rind for bait, you know.
Oh, uh-huh.
And he got lost.
Out in the
Only
ocean?
about the forest.
Oh, in the forest,
He's
uh-huh.
only 8 or 10 years, 9 years old, I think he said. He's lost for 7 or 8 days. Nine, that was a long, long time, 8 or 9 days. And he survived on chewing this bacon fat and berries and stuff like that.
How did
And
he
the,
find his way home, or?
Yeah, I said there were surveying through there at the time, you know, just an undeveloped area. And he had a survey line.
Boy.
So I followed that survey line and he finally come to civilization.
Were they
It
out?
was an ordeal for a kid, you
Yeah.
know, only
9
know,
or
but-
10 years old?
yeah, something like that.
Were his parents out looking for him?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, the whole city.
But that was immense land to get lost in. They didn't have any way of search parties or anything. You would just, you know. Nowadays you get lost why they got helicopters,
Rescue,
search parties, but this is
right.
back,
Oh.
well, not too far from 90, it was at least 90 years ago.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot different. But that's one of the instances I remember recall.
That's one of his great stories that he told, his
Yeah.
bedtime stories. Hmm. Sounds like quite a fella.
Well, he was, of course, I get more into that as they get away from
Well, yeah, that's.
the grandparents there. See, but that
Well, let's,
covered the next deal.
yeah, let's talk about your, is it your, yeah, your mom and dad.
That's what I was talking about, my dad, right?
Yeah, right, so it's just, when he was like 20, how did your mom and dad meet? I know you said he moved to Milton
Oh,
Hill.
well, you see, my mother, she came with my grandma. She came with her family, brought their family to Mukilteo
Uh-huh,
from Wisconsin.
right,
And they settled here.
uh-huh,
I guess my grandfather built the boarding house.
yeah,
And Mukilteo. And they took in boarders, you know. And I guess that's how my father met, because there was 3 girls. There was Lily and Dina and my mother, Elma, and Tilly. There's 4 daughters, 4 girls. Of course, Dina died here in Mukilteo. Tilly went east back to Wisconsin.
mhm.
So that's Lily, and Lillian was the youngest, my aunt's.
And she stayed?
Yeah, and she finally moved in Seattle to see. I got umpteen dozens of cousins.
Up in the Seattle area.
No, from Aunt Lily.
Did she, how many kids?
So
No.
that's my mother. My dad met.
Was he a boarder?
Well, I don't know, apparently, because that was about the only place there was no residential. I know. Maybe, probably did.
She was quite a bit younger than him, wasn't she?
Somewhat, I don't know, just the age difference. Probably. No, we saw, but before, he didn't come right to Mukilteo. He came to Seattle, my father. He came here in 1898 to Seattle. He was going to the gold rush. Yukon,
Oh.
and he was around Seattle for a while, and he saw all the guys coming back broke from Alaska, you know, big gold rush, and so he decided not to go.
Probably a good thing.
And so he was working in sawmills in Seattle for quite a few years before he ever got up to Muppet Kid.
Oh.
And then along about 1900, I guess, he went to eastern Washington prospecting. So he prospected eastern Washington in the 1900s, you know, early
You mean
1900s.
back maybe where we used to live?
No, north of
Spokane?
yeah, well, we're up around Oroville and the Colville Indian Reservation and Kettle Falls and up and to there northeast of Washington.
But he never struck it rich?
Well, he and his partner, they struck a mine up this little place called Chisaws, right near the Canadian border, around near Oroville. Oroville, might have heard of it. It's a little small town, about 1,500, about 20 miles from the Canadian border. He had a partner, and they get pretty good ore, and they sold their claim. And they sold it, and it was sold to an outfit that bought it and issued shares. So he and his partner each got so many shares.
Oh, I see.
200 seats. They got a half. It was set up for 1 million shares, and they got each they got half or half
Between
million,
them?
which was 250,000 shares. And at that time, it was worth 25 cents a share, which that would have been $50,000.
Which was a lot back then.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
But they hung on to it, you know, didn't sell it. But then the vein ran out, so it was abandoned, so they lost. But I guess he prospected for quite a while, I don't know, a couple of years. And that's, I guess, the only state that he, if I can remember, so I'll tell you, he had a burro and a pit bull he used to. I guess I told you about it.
No.
Huh? Did I tell you about that? Well, he had this a burro to carry his stuff, you know.
Well, I guess
He had
it
this
is.
pit bull as a companion. And, of course, during those days, there was very few settlements around, small
Right.
towns, and there was no transportation between the towns, you know, just no roads. There was no cars to speak of, horses mostly.
Right.
And that's then local saloons, things, of course, a lot of saloons around the area. So he had this he traveled around the mountains with this pit bull and a burro. He said he slept in this cave one night, and he heard it barking all night long. Dog was up to something, so he got up in the morning and looked out there, and there was about umpteen dead rattlesnakes were down in the mouth of the cave.
The dog had killed them all? They were all trying to get into the cave?
Well, I don't know, just ran into, he camping right in a nest of rattlesnakes, apparently, in the cave. He didn't know they were there. Anyway, he said, one time he used to take his dog into the saloons, you know. So, but they made a bet one time that this guy said, I'll put a badger in a barrel with your pit bull for $20. That $20 was a lot of money in those days. So my dad says, okay. So they threw the badger in the barrel. The pit bull killed him, which is, the badger is one terrible animal, you know.
So your dad was $20 richer,
Yeah.
and the guy was out of badger.
You used to take him around the saloons, you know. He made a lot of, he was trained, and Dad trained him how to fight, you know, he was trained, he was in a, actually that pit bull, he did fight in the pit, but he didn't allow it up there, but he did plenty of experience, you know.
Yeah.
But he lost him one time, the guy bet him, put him in a pen with a coyote,
I want to play on the computer.
and the coyote killed him, the pit bull, because he just sliced him to death, made him bleed to death.
That's got a mosquito.
Well, whatever happened to the pit bull?
Well, the coyote killed him.
Oh. How much did he have on that bet?
No?
How much did he
I
have on
don't
that
know.
bet? Oh.
His pit bull and the money.
Did he think that his dog would win?
I guess
I
so.
know.
Whoever fought a coyote before,
Yeah.
put him in normally the coyote would run away, you know,
Yeah.
but he was in the
He
pen.
must have been part wolf.
Funny
Huh?
guy.
He must have been part wolf.
Daddy.
Well, no, the coyote's a dangerous animal. He just slash at him with his teeth and run away, see, you know. And the dog isn't used to fighting the coyote, so he just sliced him in the blood to death. That's what they told me.
So, that was all before he moved to Muckle
Yeah.
Teal.
Oh, he used to prospect.
All right. So,
And I guess then eventually he moved in, got from Uncle T and met my mother, and they bought this, about acre and a half of land there.
uh-huh.
What is this?
And that was the land
Turtle lightning.
where the house was that you grew up in? He just bought that 1 acre and a
Yeah,
half and built
well,
the
it was
house?
about
and
an
always-
acre and a half, that included all the land down to the road, maybe.
Mm.
You know what this is?
Built back Bandy's house down to the creek down there,
Oh, this is scary.
and it goes back.
See,
We
they're
had
aliens.
all garden
When they
and fruit
pull off their
trees.
skin, and they see the aliens.
So, so they, you don't remember how old he was? I thought he was in his 40s when he even got married.
Probably, yes.
So he was older when he had,
Well, let's see, he was
Yes.
75 in 1945.
and you were
Figured out.
born when?
Hmm?
And you were born when?
16, 1960.
1960.
See, what is it now? It's, what?
Yeah, he was in his 40s then.
Yeah, he
Early
was supposed to
40s.
be. See, if he were alive today, he'd be, see, 45 from
Oh, another 40.
87 is 42 plus 75 is 112 years old. That's how old he'd be if he were alive.
I see. But he's been-
And my mother would be, she was 87, she'd be almost 100. So there was probably 12, 14 years difference maybe.
Right, right. So, how old were you when your father passed away?
I was in service, World War II. When he,
You were in your 20s?
yeah, I was about 20, see, about 29, 28, 29.
And,
So I had to come up, I was down station at Fort,
Is it starting?
see, it's a Camp Robert. Camp Roberts. I had to come up from funeral.
so what, okay.
Well, she was a very mild-mannered person.
Your mom, your mother.
My mother, yeah, she, really hard worker.
Like her mother?
Yeah. Of course, those was pretty much of a necessity. You know, we had those, on a place they bought there in Mukilteo, they had, well, it was a small farm, what it was. So she, well, she had the 3 of us, my 2 sisters and me. And of course, she had to do all the housework, and, which is not like now. You know,
Right. All the modern conveniences.
no modern convenience, you know. Electricity, at first we had, when I was a kid, I remember we had electricity at the house. And
Kerosene
we had
lantern.
kerosene lamps. And outhouses. And I can't remember who had water in plumbing. I think we did, but my father had a water system from the creek, you know.
His own
Piped it in,
invention.
and he had a big reservoir on the top of the hill, and the pipe had a ram that pumped it into the reservoir. And it supplied all the little houses on the property.
All his
And
rental,
all
all his rental houses.
Yeah,
His
and-
house.
of course, the whole place was all fruit trees. And of course, I can remember when we were even clearing some of the land, you know,
Oh, you can.
part of the hill there, and some of the old stumps that were log logs were still there, and we had to blow those out. I remember my father was out there, powder monkey, blowing the logs off, stumps off. Of course, Mother did all the canning, and we canned an awful lot of food, all that, like that, and meats, canned meats and chicken, and doing all the sewing, you know. And then we had cows, and she'd have to process all the milk, make cheese and butter, and fill all the milk jars, which us we kids would peddle to around the neighborhood. There's no big milk bags, and you put 3 in the back and 3 in the front, quarts of milk, you know.
And go sell it.
Well, we had a regular route, you know,
Oh.
route with customers and stuff. But, you know, we never went anywhere. She never wanted to stay around the house all the time. Of course, we didn't have a car.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
we'd go up there every once in a while. It's a fairly big town. Then, about 25,000.
Was it all work and no play, or?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, we'd go up. We'd go to movies. I'd go to a movie with my mother, up and take the bus up to Everett, you know. And I remember we used to go out quite a bit together. I was the only one. So we go to movies, and we catch in a bus and go and see movies. I remember we saw, was that first Al Jolson picture, the first talking picture, Everett and Seder and Everett.
The first talking picture.
Yeah, 1927 was it, something like that. I can't remember, but we were at the old theater up there.
Just you and her?
Yeah. We used to go up in the afternoon Saturdays. And we'd go on picnics and stuff like that. But I'll walk down the railroad track and a family, you know, with relatives and friends just go on picnics and go climb digging and stuff like that. At night, we could do a lot of climb digging at night. But then it wasn't until, I don't know when we got our first car. It was a Model T. About 1931, we bought it from my aunt.
And were you guys kind of middle class, or were you well-to-do?
Well, it wasn't many well-to-do. We weren't well-to-do by any stretch of the imagination.
But you were a lot better off than a lot.
Yeah, it's probably because
folks.
my father had this extra.
Oh, income, right. Little hidden income.
But I remember we took my Uncle Henry along with me and my mother and my dad. Took that Model T way over to eastern Washington, up by the Canadian border, over the Cascade Mountains. And it took us 2 days to get to a place that normally take about 6 hours to drive now.
Just
Car would
because the
break
road.
down all the time. And go up those hills, you know, only do it about 10 miles an hour. And only do top speed is about 30.
Would they drive all night?
No. We'd camp out all the way over there.
Then when you
Mother
got
slept in the car. It wasn't very comfortable.
yeah.
She was kind of heavy set. She always weighed about 190, 200 pounds.
All the time?
I always remember she was heavy. Well, Aunt Tilly was very heavy too. She was heavier than my mother. But Aunt Lily, the youngest daughter, she was slim all the time. But, I suppose we did as much as ordinary couple did those days with limited transportation and funds, you know.
Mhm.
We always go up to Everett to the 4th of July parade and the carnivals and try to take in the carnivals.
Well, did your mother? She didn't pick up on your grandmother's zeal for her religion or the church.
No, she got turned against it.
How come? Do you know? Just because of the way she was brought up, or was it because of the
No, I wouldn't want to say over that.
stories?
No, because of that thing. I'll tell you personally sometime.
Yeah.
Not on me.
Yeah. Do and your father never
No, he's...
had any exposure?
No. No, there's none of the family.
So did you live at
None
continued?
of her children. None of my grandmother's children.
Oh, none of them.
Ever turned out to be religious. Maybe it was too oppressive. I
Right.
think. Kind of turned it away.
Right. Too strict and negative. That's too bad. Did you live
see,
at home?
I don't know, religion was, it's quite a bit different, I think, now.
Yeah.
There's more tolerance, I think,
Yeah.
in religion now than there used to be,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lot more
you
freedom.
couldn't wear makeup, rouge, or anything,
Right.
just strict dresses and long dresses. Oh, it was just,
That's
she
what
was
I've
really
heard.
one of those old time,
She
you know.
stuck out